The galaxy was old. Civilizations had risen and fallen for millions of years, each leaving behind ruins, stories, and sometimes scars. The Galactic Council was the center of order, where hundreds of species gathered to speak, trade, and decide the fate of stars. For thousands of years, no new young race had entered the stage with anything unusual. Most arrived timidly, sending diplomats or explorers. They came with small ships, cautious greetings, and hopeful eyes. So when new signals appeared at the edge of mapped space, no one was worried at first. The first reports called it primitive warp activity. The reading suggested a civilization had finally broken free from its homeworld and touched faster than light travel. To the Council, this was normal. Another species climbing up the fear ladder. Another hopeful group ready to join the great community. But the reports kept changing. A scout vessel of the Veyari approached the strange signal. At first, the Veyari thought it was some error in the sensors. The warp field was too large, too powerful. "It is not possible," their commander said, staring at the data. "No young species could create such an entry signature. It is as if a planet itself is pushing through hyperspace." The crew laughed nervously, but their laughter faded when the object emerged. From the swirling storm of hyperspace, something vast appeared. It was not a fleet, not a collection of ships. It was one vessel. The Veyari scout froze, every crew member silent as the shadow of the new arrival filled their view screens. The ship was colossal, bigger than any battle station the Council had ever built. Its hull stretched for kilometers upon kilometers, so long that it seemed to vanish into the darkness of space. Whole cities could fit inside its frame. Its armor shone a dark steel gray, broken only by the glow of engines so massive they looked like small suns. The Veyari commander whispered, "What kind of race builds this as their first step into the stars?" News spread quickly. The scouts. Recording was transmitted back to the Council's core worlds, and within hours the great chambers of the Council were filled with worried voices. The Shallan, insectoid and cautious, clicked their mandibles in alarm. No peaceful explorers arrive in such a machine. This is a warship, one larger than anything in our histories. The crystalline Volari vibrated their tones through the chamber. Perhaps it is a relic. Perhaps this new race has found technology not their own. The reptilian core spat out a hiss. "Do not fool yourselves. This ship is not an accident. Look at its design. Look at the power signatures. It was built piece by piece with purpose. Whoever these newcomers are, they come to declare something to the stars." Debates roared. Some demanded fleets to intercept at once. Others argued for caution. No one knew the intentions of this new species. All they knew was that the ship dwarfed everything in sight, and its silence made it even more terrifying. The Council tried to open contact. Dozens of languages, signals, and broadcasts were sent toward the massive vessel. No reply came. It simply drifted at the edge of known space, silent, as if watching. On worlds across the galaxy, ordinary people saw the recordings. Merchants on busy stations, soldiers in their barracks, children in learning halls, all stared at the image of the ship. Rumors spread faster than light. Some whispered it was a living thing. Others claimed it was a planet stolen from its orbit and turned into a weapon. Some even believed it was a god returning from the dark void. Inside the Council chambers, fear grew. For 10,000 years, no species had dared to build something so large. Even the Council's combined armadas could not match it. And yet, here it was, belonging to a race no one had heard of. Finally, one of the Council's record keepers found a clue. In the faint transmissions that followed the ship's arrival, a single word repeated in a strange tongue. It took time to translate, but soon the meaning was clear. The ship called itself Erebus. The word came from a human language, though no one yet knew what human meant. The translators offered possible meanings: darkness, shadow, or the deep void. The name only deepened the mystery. Who were these humans, and why did they step into the galaxy not with diplomats, not with fragile scouts, but with a vessel that looked like the fist of a god? The council could not understand it, but deep in their hearts every species felt the same chill. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was afraid. Meanwhile, aboard the Erebus, the humans watched. The ship was not just a warship. It was a symbol. Within its walls were gardens, living quarters, factories, and entire command centers. It carried the legacy of Earth, a planet far from the galactic core, a world that had survived endless wars, disasters, and threats both from within and without. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Around him, officers reported status updates calmly, but everyone could feel the weight of their mission. Humanity had chosen not to arrive as beggars seeking membership. They had chosen not to arrive as traders offering wares. They had chosen to arrive as survivors, carrying the biggest shield and the sharpest sword they could build. Any response from the council? Elias asked. Dozens, sir, replied his communication officer. They are trying to reach us. Demands, requests, invitations, a few threats. The captain gave a slow nod. Good. Let them wonder. Let them see us first, before they hear us. The crew understood. For too long, Earth had lived with fear. Fear of being weak, fear of being ignored, fear of being destroyed by those who saw them as prey. The Erebus was their answer. It was a promise that no one would ever look at humans as fragile again. The galaxy might not yet understand why such a ship existed, but they would. And so the Erebus drifted silently, watching the galaxy as much as the galaxy watched it. Thus began the first whispers of humanity among the stars. No greetings, no handshakes, no gentle voices of diplomats. Only the shadow of a colossal ship, a steel titan that told every species in the council a single truth. Humanity had arrived. The council chamber was louder than it had been in centuries. 1,000 voices clashed, each one filled with fear, pride, or anger. The image of the human ship, Erebus, still floated in the center of the great hall, projected above them all. Its massive frame rotated slowly, casting its shadow across the chamber. No one could look away. The insectoid Shaylin speaker tapped his claw against the railing. This is no explorer's ship. This is a weapon larger than any of us dreamed possible. They arrive in silence, without diplomats, without request for alliance. This is arrogance. This is intimidation. The crystalline Volari sang their response, their tones calm but filled with unease. Perhaps they fear us. Perhaps this vessel is their way of saying they will not be crushed. A child among giants must hold a blade to be noticed. The core, scaled warriors with sharp teeth, growled in disapproval. No child builds a blade that can split moons. This ship is a warning, and we would be fools to ignore it. I say we strike first before this. Humanity grows bold enough to use it. That single word, humanity, echoed across the chamber. It was new, alien to their tongues. The first clue about the builders of Erebus. Many species had already begun studying the few leaked transmissions. A handful of linguists and codebreakers were working without rest to uncover more. But even without full translation, the council understood enough. This new race had chosen to arrive not with open hands, but with clenched fists. Across the galaxy, fear grew. On the trade world of Jareth, merchants stared at holoscreens showing the image of the human ship. Some closed their stalls early, afraid of what might come. On military outposts, commanders whispered to one another, calculating how many fleets would be needed to face a vessel that size. On distant farming colonies, parents pulled their children. Closest stories spread of the shadow ship drifting from the void. The Erebus had not fired a single shot, yet the galaxy was already trembling. Back in the council chamber, a decision had to be made. Let us send a fleet, suggested the Veyari ambassador. A show of strength. We need not fire, only surround it. If these humans wish peace, they will send envoys. If they wish war, we will be ready. The Shallan clicked their agreement. Yes, test them. Probe their strength. But the Volari objected. What if you provoke them? You saw the scans. You saw the energy readings. This vessel has the power to annihilate whole armadas. If it answers violence with violence, who will bear the blame? The council leader, An aged being of the Avrian species raised a hand for silence. His long, silver tendrils shimmered under the chamber's lights. We must not rush. This ship is beyond anything we have known. One wrong step, and we may doom us all. Still, unease filled the hall. For all their wisdom, even the Avrian could not deny the truth. The galaxy had never faced a ship like Erebus before. Meanwhile, aboard the Erebus, the humans observed everything. Council chatter is growing louder, reported Lieutenant Mara Vance, the communications officer. We're intercepting dozens of transmissions. They're afraid, Captain. Some call us invaders, some call us monsters. Others want to understand. Captain Elias Ward stood silent for a long moment. He had expected this. No matter how carefully they planned, no matter how disciplined their silence, fear was inevitable. The Erebus was too large, too different, too threatening to be ignored. Let them talk, Elias said at last. Every word they speak spreads our shadow. Fear may be the only thing that keeps us alive in the beginning. His officers exchanged uneasy looks, but none argued. They all knew Earth's history. Humanity had been ignored before, dismissed as weak, exploited by greater powers. That could never happen again. Not now. Commander Hayes, the tactical officer, frowned. Captain, there's one thing that worries me. What if they attack first? What if fear pushes them into a mistake? Elias turned his gaze toward the holographic display of the galaxy. Then we show them restraint. We prove that we are not conquerors, but we also prove that no one can break us. If they want to test the Erebus, we will let them. The crew nodded, though the weight of those words pressed heavily on them all. Back in the Council's war halls, fleets were already moving. Admiral Carvin of the Corps paced before his officers. We cannot wait. If we let this humanity spread, the balance of power will shatter. Send word to every fleet in the sector. We will meet them before they reach the core. Not all agreed with him. In other star systems, commanders urged caution, but fear was louder than reason. Within days, dozens of fleets began shifting into position. Hundreds of ships armed themselves, forming a loose net across the border regions. The humans saw it all. Fleet movements detected, Mara reported. They're gathering in force. Captain Elias gave a grim smile. So be it. Let them come closer. The galaxy wants to test our strength. We will not fire first, but we will not retreat. On the colony world of Vayari Prime, a group of young students watched the news in silence. The holoscreen showed the image of the Erebus slowly spinning against the stars. One of them whispered, "It's beautiful." Another hissed in fear. "It's terrifying. No one builds something like that for beauty." But the first shook their head. Maybe they built it because they had no choice. Maybe their galaxy was cruel to them. The teacher silenced the debate, but the words lingered. Across countless worlds, people ask the same question. Why did the humans build Erebus? The council had no answer, and until the humans spoke, fear would only grow. In the council chamber, the Avrian leader called the assembly to order once more. His voice trembled, though he tried to hide it. "We stand at a turning point," he said. "A new species has entered our galaxy not with words but with shadow. They test our unity. They test our courage. Some say strike. Some say wait. But we must remember, fear can blind as easily as it can warn." His words calmed some, but not all. The Corps delegation hissed openly in defiance. "You are cowards. Every moment you wait, the humans grow stronger." The chamber erupted again in shouting, and all the while the Erebus drifted silently, watching. The humans aboard felt the weight of 1,000 alien eyes upon them, waiting to see what they would do. Captain Elias finally gave his first order that would echo across the stars. "Open a channel," he said. The crew held their breath as Mara activated the transmitters. "To the races of this galaxy," Elias began, his voice steady and deep. "We are humanity. We did not come with diplomats. We did not come with fragile explorers. We came with the Erebus, The words carried across space, repeated through relays and signals, spreading to every council world within hours. We built this ship not to conquer, but to survive. We are a young race, but we have endured trials that shaped us into what you see today. We will not beg. We will not kneel. We stand. The message was simple, but it sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For some, it confirmed their worst fears. For others, it sparked respect. But for all, it made one truth clear. Humanity had arrived, and they would not be ignored. Thus, fear turned to tension. Some fleets moved to attack, some species waited, and the galaxy held its breath, wondering if the first shots of a new war were about to be fired. The shadow of Erebus stretched long across the stars. The galaxy did not sleep. After the human captain's message spread across the stars, every world in the council discussed the same question. What did humanity want? Some believed the words were honest, that the Erebus was only a symbol of survival. Others thought it was a hidden threat. No matter how carefully the humans spoke, their choice to appear first with a colossal warship unsettled everyone. On the council's capital station, debates grew hotter each day. Ambassadors shouted over one another in the grand chamber. The core delegation slammed their tails on the floor, demanding war. The Shallan clicked in fear, whispering that the humans would enslave them all. The Volari sang calm notes, asking for patience, but their voices were drowned by fear and suspicion. Every faction heard what they wanted to hear in the humans' message. Some thought the phrase, "we will not kneel," meant defiance against the council. Others claimed it meant the humans refused to cooperate. Even the word survive sounded dangerous when spoken from the shadow of a ship that could eclipse moons. Far from the council halls, the fleets moved closer. At the border of council space, dozens of warships approached cautiously toward Erebus. They kept their distance at first, scanning the massive vessel from every angle. The scans returned nothing useful. The human ship's armor was too thick, its shielding too advanced. Every attempt to probe its interior failed. The alien admirals grew nervous. A fortress that could not be read was more frightening than one that showed its weapons openly. Admiral Carvin of the Core Fleet sent a direct transmission. Unknown vessel Erebus. You stand in council territory. You will power down your engines and allow inspection. Failure to comply will be seen as an act of hostility. The words echoed inside the command deck of Erebus. Captain Elias Ward listened silently. His officers waited for his response, tension thick in the air. Finally, he spoke. Transmit this reply. We mean no hostility, but we will not lower our defenses. To do so would be against everything we stand for. The reply went out. When the council fleets received it, panic spread. They refuse, hissed Carven. They hide something. They prepare for war. The Volari admiral sang a softer interpretation. Perhaps they are simply cautious. Look at their design. This vessel was built from fear, not arrogance. But Carven was not convinced. His claws tightened on the arm of his chair. Fear or arrogance, it makes no difference. A blade built from fear cuts just as deep. On Erebus, the crew braced themselves. Multiple fleets surrounding us, reported Commander Hayes. Weapons charged but not yet locked. They're waiting for a reason. Captain Elias studied the displays. The aliens had dozens of ships, but compared to Erebus, they looked like insects circling a beast. He knew appearances could deceive, but he also knew the Erebus could withstand much worse. Still, he felt the weight of responsibility. One wrong move and the first contact between humanity and the galaxy would become war. Hold fire, Elias ordered. No matter what they do, we will not strike first. His officers nodded, though their hands hovered near controls, ready, if the worst came. In the council chamber, news of the standoff arrived instantly. Ambassadors shouted even louder than before. This is proof, the Corps roared. They will not obey the council. They will not respect our laws. Strike now, before they strike us. No, argued the Volari. If we attack, we create the very war we fear. Let them speak more. Let us listen. The Evrian leader, old and wise, remained silent. He watched the arguments, his tendrils trembling. In his long life he had seen many young races join the council, but never like this. The humans had not come to kneel. They had come to stand, equal or above. That frightened him most of all. Back in orbit, the fleets edged closer. Their weapons charged fully now. Inside Erebus, alarms flashed. "They're locking weapons on us," Hayes warned. Captain Elias breathed deeply, keeping his voice calm. "Shields?" "Full strength," replied the engineer. "They won't break us easily." For a long moment, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Then a single shot fired. It was not a heavy strike, only a warning blast from a nervous alien commander. But it lit the void with fire, streaking across space and slamming against Erebus's shields. The humans staggered slightly as the impact rippled across the vessel, but the shields held easily. The aliens waited for retaliation. None came. On Erebus, Elias gave his order. "Do not return fire. Not yet." Confusion spread among the council fleets. Some thought the humans were weak. Others realized the truth, that Erebus could take their blows without effort, and its silence was a choice, not a weakness. Inside the core flagship, Admiral Carvin hissed in frustration. "Why do they not strike back? Are they mocking us? Do they think us beneath their notice?" His officers shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered that perhaps the humans were trying to show restraint. Others feared the humans were only waiting for the fleets to exhaust themselves before unleashing a devastating counterattack. Misunderstanding deepened. Every action the humans took was seen in two ways: restraint or arrogance, peace or threat. The truth was lost in the haze of fear. Back on Erebus, tension filled the air. Lieutenant Mara Vance spoke softly. "Captain, how long can we hold this? They grow more restless every minute. If one of them makes a mistake..." Elias nodded grimly. "Then history will remember this day as the spark of war. But if we endure, if we hold steady, maybe they will see us for what we are." "What are we, sir?" Hayes asked quietly. Elias looked out at the alien fleets, his voice firm. "Survivors." On a distant council world, civilians gathered around, hollow screens. They watched live feeds of the standoff. The image of Erebus, silent and massive, surrounded by hundreds of smaller ships, filled the skies. Children asked their parents what it meant. Traders whispered that the humans must be ancient, warriors returning from exile. Farmers prayed the humans would not bring war to their peaceful fields, and across the stars fear mixed with awe. The council finally called for an emergency session. The Avrian leader rose slowly, his voice steady but filled with weight. "Stand on the edge of fire. Humanity holds their hand, though they could crush us. We must decide, do we extend ours, or do we strike?" Silence followed. Even the core hesitated. The galaxy was divided. Back on Erebus, Captain Elias made his decision. "Prepare a transmission," he said. "This time, we will show them more than silence." His crew leaned forward, waiting. "To the council fleets," Elias spoke, his voice firm but calm. "We do not fire because we seek no war. We will not lower our defenses because survival has been our only law. If you believe restraint is weakness, test us further. But know this: humanity does not break." The words rippled across the void, carried by every signal, reaching the ears of admirals, ambassadors, and civilians alike. Some felt threatened, some felt respect, but all felt the truth. These humans would not bend. The tension did not end. Misunderstandings still burned like fuel, but one thing was certain: no one in the galaxy could ignore humanity now. The tension that had filled the galaxy for weeks finally snapped. At the edges of council space, the fleets had gathered. Hundreds of warships surrounded the colossal human vessel Erebus, their engines glowing red as they waited for a single command. Nervous officers whispered among themselves, worried about how the humans would react. Some were determined to strike first, believing hesitation would be seen as weakness. Others feared their own fleets, uncertain if they were brave or foolish, enough to challenge the shadow of Erebus. On the command deck of the Erebus, Captain Elias Ward stood silently, watching the displays. Every sensor showed movement. Small movements at first, then coordinated patterns. The alien fleets were circling, probing, and testing, just as he had expected. "Captain," said Commander Hayes, "they're moving in closer. It looks like they're forming attack vectors. Some of them, they're serious. If we don't act soon, they might fire." Elias nodded, his face calm but his mind calculating. "Hold steady. Let them make the first move. Humanity has survived worse than fear." The first strike came without warning. A core dreadnought fired a beam of concentrated energy. It streaked across the void, immense and bright, and struck the Erebus's shields. The impact shook the human ship, sending a ripple across its hull. But the shields absorbed the energy easily. The beam fizzled out against the titanic armor, leaving not even a scratch. The humans held their positions. They did not fire back. The silence was deliberate, terrifying in its restraint. From the alien perspective, every second of hesitation was an insult. Fleets that had prepared for a minor skirmish now realized they were facing something entirely different. This was no ordinary warship. This was a fortress. This was the culmination of centuries of human survival instinct, engineered to endure attacks that could destroy planets. Admiral Carvin of the Corps hissed in frustration. "Why do they not fight? Are they mocking us? Are they waiting for us to waste our energy?" His lieutenants shifted nervously. Some feared the humans had trapped them. Others whispered that perhaps the humans were stronger than even they could imagine. On the Erebus, the crew moved with practiced precision. "Shield stable," reported the chief engineer. "Hull integrity at 100%. We are prepared for anything they send." "Countermeasures ready," said the tactical officer. "We can disable their fleets if needed, without total destruction." Captain Elias turned to his crew. "Remember, we strike only if necessary. We do not begin wars. We end them before they begin, but only if attacked. Humanity has survived by knowing when to fight and when to hold back." The crew nodded. They understood the weight of this moment. The first battle could define humanity's presence in the galaxy. One wrong move, and centuries of peaceful survival could vanish in a single instant. The alien fleets pressed their attack. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma charges rained toward the Erebus. Each one struck the colossal shields and failed to pierce them. The ship seemed immovable, a mountain in the void, absorbing every strike without faltering. From the council stations, diplomats and civilians alike watched the battle unfold. Fear turned to awe. The humans had not fired a single shot, yet they dominated the battlefield simply by enduring. Each failed attack made the aliens more anxious, their confidence crumbling. Some species began to reconsider their assumptions. Perhaps the humans were not aggressive, they were merely survivors, masters of defense. But others remained determined, unwilling to risk being humiliated by a species they barely understood. Admiral Carvin could no longer wait. "Fire everything," he ordered. "Show them we are not afraid. If they do not strike, we will break them." The core fleet unleashed their full power. Massive beams converged on the Erebus from multiple directions. Missiles streaked through the void, exploding against the human shields in dazzling flashes of light. Yet the Erebus did not falter. Its armor and defensive systems absorbed, deflected, and neutralized every strike. Captain Elias observed quietly. "They still don't understand," he said. "Every attack they make only proves our point. Humanity is not fragile. Humanity is unbreakable." Commander Hayes frowned. "Some of them are retreating, Captain. They see the futility. Others, they are still determined. They could escalate beyond this sector." Elias nodded. "Then let them learn restraint the hard way." For hours the battle raged. Small ships were disabled, not destroyed, by precise countermeasures. Major capital ships were forced to retreat when their shields failed to overcome the Erebus's defenses. The humans did not rejoice in victory. They only maintained discipline, demonstrating strength without cruelty. Finally, a communication signal reached the alien fleets. The humans broadcasted their message across all channels. We do not seek war, we defend only what is ours. We will not strike first, but we will not bow. Test us if you must, but know that we endure. Humanity survives, and we do not kneel. The transmission echoed through the void, and for the first time the alien commanders hesitated. They realized something profound. This vessel was more than a ship. It was a statement. Every piece of metal, every system, every defense was designed not to attack, but to show that humans would survive anything. The core flagship slowed its advance. Admiral Carvin hissed in disbelief. How can a species so young stand like this? How can they absorb our might and still refuse to strike? Other admirals, from the Volari and Shalin, began to reconsider. Some suggested retreating entirely. Others argued for diplomacy. For the first time, the galaxy was forced to see humans as equals, not prey. Inside the Erebus, Captain Elias allowed himself a small smile. They understand now. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not fragile. They may fear us, but that is respect in its own way. Commander Hayes nodded. Do we continue our advance, Captain? Or maintain position? Maintain, Elias replied. This is not about conquering. It is about teaching them a lesson they will not forget. Let them see that we endure. Let them remember that humanity survives, even when underestimated. The crew continued their careful monitoring. Every strike, every maneuver, every communication was observed and countered with precision. The humans had proven that even against overwhelming odds, strategy, discipline, and resilience could dominate brute force. Back in the council chamber, the news of the battle spread. Holographic projections showed the alien fleets withdrawing, battered and confused while the Erebus remained untouched. Ambassadors and delegates gasped in astonishment. The Avrian leader, with his long silver tendrils shimmering, spoke quietly. A young species has humbled us all. They came not to beg, not to negotiate, they came to survive. And they have reminded us that strength does not always shout. Sometimes it endures quietly and waits for the moment the universe listens. Some applauded, some trembled. But all could not deny the truth. Humanity had passed the first trial of fire. As the alien fleets retreated, Captain Elias sent one final message. We will not be enemies to those who seek peace. We will not be conquerors to those who respect life. But we will never bow to fear or arrogance. Humanity survives, and humanity endures. Remember this. The message rippled through the galaxy. Across distant worlds, species whispered in awe. Children pointed at the stars in wonder. Commanders reconsidered their strategies. Traders recalculated risks. Every corner of the galaxy understood something new. Humanity had arrived, and they were unlike anything anyone had seen. Inside the Erebus, the crew allowed themselves a moment of relief. Captain, Mara said softly. They backed down. For now. Elias nodded, looking out at the distant stars. For now, he agreed. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy has learned we survive, but they have not yet learned who we truly are. That lesson will come in time. The echoes of the trial of fire still resonated across the galaxy. Reports of the Erebus's endurance traveled faster than any fleet could move. From distant systems to the heart of the council, species whispered and debated. Some feared the humans, some admired them, and some simply realized that the galaxy had changed forever. Inside the council's capital station, the atmosphere was tense, but shifting. The fleets that had once pressed to attack Erebus now hovered at a cautious distance. The alien admirals and ambassadors debated not only fear, but also respect. The Volari argued for dialogue, claiming that a species that survived and resisted so thoroughly deserved consideration. The core remained stubborn, but even their harsh leaders could not deny the truth. They had underestimated humanity. Back aboard the Erebus, Captain Elias Ward observed the galaxy through massive viewport screens. Thousands of stars stretched across space, and yet for the first time in weeks the humans felt the weight of calm. The alien fleets had stopped attacking. They were still present, still cautious, but the first sparks of recognition had emerged. Lieutenant Mara Vance broke the silence. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from multiple species. They're requesting communication." Elias allowed himself a small nod. "About time. Let them speak. Let them understand." The first messages were simple, formal, cautious. The Council wanted assurances, explanations, and signs that humanity did not intend to dominate or destroy. The humans responded carefully, their words clear and steady. "We do not come to conquer. We come to exist. We do not bow to fear or arrogance, and we do not seek to destroy what survives. Humanity stands as it always has, resilient, capable, and watchful. If we are to meet the galaxy, it will be as equals, not subjects." Some species remained skeptical. The Corps continued to hover their fleets defensively. The Shalan demanded proof that the humans would not strike if unchecked. But others began to see the wisdom in humanity's approach. The Valari, the Avrian, and even some smaller traders and explorers understood that strength without cruelty was a lesson the galaxy had rarely seen. On worlds far from the Council, civilians watched the broadcast feeds. Children stared at the image of the Erebus and whispered about the giant ship that did not kill. Traders recalculated routes, knowing that humanity's presence could shift power balances. Soldiers on remote outposts relaxed slightly, realizing that a new force had arrived, not to conquer but to survive. The galaxy was learning that humanity's strength was not in aggression. It was in resilience, discipline, and intelligence. Inside the Erebus, the crew continued their routine, but a sense of pride filled the air. Engineers checked shields and engines, tactical officers ran simulations, and communications officers translated messages from alien languages. Each person understood the weight of what they had achieved. The humans had survived not by overwhelming firepower alone, but by strategy and restraint. They had shown the galaxy what survival truly meant. "Captain," Elias spoke to his crew quietly in the command room. "We have proven our endurance. We have proven our strength. But remember, this is not victory, this is understanding. Humanity's journey has only just begun." Commander Hayes nodded. "And the galaxy knows we exist. They will respect us. Now." Elias shook his head slightly. "Some will respect us. Others will fear us. And some will always challenge us. That is the reality, but at least now no one can ignore humanity." On the Council's capital, discussions turned from panic to diplomacy. The Avrian leader stood and addressed the assembly. "We have underestimated a young race. They arrived not as diplomats, not as petitioners, but as survivors. Their strength is immense, but their choice to endure rather than destroy shows wisdom beyond their years. We must approach this carefully. Humanity has entered our galaxy. We cannot undo it. We can only learn how to coexist." The Valari sang in agreement, their tones carrying calm through the chamber. "Let us invite them to our councils cautiously. Let us understand their people. They are not conquerors, but they are no longer small. They are a power we cannot ignore." Even the Corps grumbled, but grudging respect showed in their expressions. They knew that any attempt to challenge the humans without careful strategy could be catastrophic. Humanity had not killed a single one of them, yet they had proven that resistance was useless. In the following weeks, formal communications began. Humans answered questions about the Erebus, about Earth, and about their intentions. They shared information about their history, their trials, and the threats they had faced alone. They spoke of wars fought on Earth, of disasters survived, and of lessons learned over millennia. The galaxy listened. Slowly, the fear began to shift toward respect. Species who had once planned attacks now considered trade, alliance, and knowledge exchange. The human message was clear. We are not here to destroy. We are here to exist, to endure, and to meet the galaxy on equal footing. On several planets, the citizens whispered excitedly. Humanity had arrived with its colossal ship, yes, but, more importantly, they had arrived with courage, restraint, and intelligence. A young species had taught the galaxy something it had long forgotten. Power did not require cruelty, and endurance could be stronger than fear. On the Erebus, Captain Elias walked the halls, observing his crew at work. They had become legends, before even leaving Earth's orbit, and now they were symbols of a new era. He paused at a viewport, watching the alien fleet slowly retreat to the edges of Council space, still observing, still cautious. "Captain," Mara said quietly beside him, "they will remember this. Humanity will be in every history record, from this day forward." Elias nodded. "Let them remember, but also let them know. Humanity's strength is not just in this ship. It is in every person on Earth, every choice we make, every risk we take to survive and thrive. Erebus is only a shadow of what we are capable of." The Council, now more composed, sent a formal invitation to humanity. Not as subjects, not as fearful neighbors, but as potential allies. Humanity responded in kind, sending representatives and opening channels for negotiation. The galaxy was learning to accept the humans cautiously. Some species still feared the Erebus, and some remained wary of humanity's growing presence. But others began to see opportunity. Humanity was strong, yes, but also disciplined and restrained. They had the power to protect themselves, yet the wisdom not to abuse it. It was a lesson that the galaxy would carry for centuries. As the alien fleets returned to their home systems, rumors spread about humanity's trials and victories. Every encounter with the humans became a story of caution and respect. Ships in distant sectors recalculated tactics. Academies on distant planets studied the Erebus and the humans aboard it. Even those who had never seen the ship came to know its name. Erebus was more than a ship, it was a symbol, a warning, and a promise. Inside its halls, the crew prepared for the next stage of their journey. Humanity had shown that survival was not weak. Humanity had proven it could endure anything. And now, the galaxy would see that humanity could thrive among the stars. Captain Elias stood on the command deck one last time before turning to the crew. "We have faced the galaxy's fear. We have survived their doubt. We have earned a place among the stars. But remember, this is just the beginning. Humanity must now show not only strength but wisdom. We will endure and we will make our mark." The humans cheered quietly, not with arrogance but with pride. For the first time, the galaxy knew humanity was here. Not as conquerors, not as timid explorers, but as survivors, as equals, as a force that no one could ignore. The Erebus drifted silently in the void, colossal and still, a fortress and a symbol. Its shadow stretched across the stars, reminding every world that humanity had arrived, and with patience, wisdom, and resilience, humanity would shape the galaxy not with fire, but with endurance, courage, and understanding. The first contact had ended not with war, but with balance. The galaxy had learned a new truth. To underestimate humans was to misunderstand the meaning of survival.